The MVP race for the 2021 NFL season is possibly heating up to be one of the best ones that we've seen in NFL history. Not only in the fact that we have a lot of guys this early in the season proving themselves as one of the best players in the NFL, but just the sheer fact that all of these guys that I'm going to mention are playing at a level that we would not be seeing 5 to 10 years ago from that position. And I'm going to be honest with you before I get into the video. I'm not going to try to even attempt to bring up a defensive player or try to bring up many skill position players because let's be honest, this is a quarterback driven league and just trying to give the MVP to someone other than a quarterback is just not an argument you're going to win very often. Now, with that being said, the first guy that I do want to bring up is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is leading the NFL in yards from scrimmage. He has 0 fumbles on the entire year. That is both lost and recovered by the Tennessee Titans. 7 touchdowns between rushing and receiving. And he's been a guy who, even though he's not really considered a passing threat, I would never consider Derrick Henry someone like a Alvin Kamara or even someone like a Kareem Hunt or Austin Eckler or Jonathan Taylor or even someone like a Najee Harris or Ezekiel Elliott. But with that being said, he has been proving to be a consistent, if he's thrown the ball, he's consistently going to catch the ball. He's caught all but one of the passes thrown to him by Ryan Tannehill. And for an offense who, let's be honest, with Ryan Tannehill at the quarterback position, it's going to be inconsistent at times. And he is possibly the most consistent player in the NFL outside of the quarterback ranks. So I think Derrick Henry has a shot by the end of the year if he keeps up on the pace right now where he's averaging about 130 yards on the ground a game. He does that. He's going to, I think, shatter the rushing record in a season. And we'll be talking about him as an MVP candidate. The first guy I really want to bring up is Justin Herbert. I mean, you're talking about a guy who has 13 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions on the season. You're talking about a guy who's leading the LA Chargers to a 4-1 record through the first about month or so of the season. And he's just been consistently one of the best quarterbacks week in and week out for the LA Chargers, a Chargers franchise who has been looking for that replacement for Phillip Rivers as the franchise quarterback for about 5 or 6, maybe even 7 or 8 seasons now. And they finally got a guy in Justin Herbert who not only can compete with the Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers of the world in terms of putting up a lot of points, but he's not going to turn the ball over a lot. And he's just going to be a guy who consistently puts this team in position to win every single play. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. Let's talk about a guy who last year broke his ankle around this time. Let's talk about a guy who mentally had to come over the hurdle of an injury. He had to mentally come over the hurdle of, just having football taken away from him for over a year. Let's talk about a guy who came back and challenged Tom Brady in the first week of the season. Let's talk about a guy who, through 5 weeks, is in the top 10 of passing yards. He's a top 10 guy, in my opinion. He's actually a top 5 guy, in my opinion, at the quarterback spot at this current point. And he's an MVP candidate. He's got the Dallas Cowboys playing at a 4-1 record. Yes, they play in probably the worst division in the NFL, but they're still winning, and they're beating good teams. They beat the Chargers a few weeks ago, and the only loss so far is to the possible future Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and last year's champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Dak Prescott, in my opinion, should be firmly in that race by the time the end of the season comes around and we're talking about MVP candidates. You can't really have the MVP conversation without a couple of guys that I'm going to bring up right now, and that's Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. Both of these guys are playing completely out of their minds when it comes to being elite passers. They're both playing out of their minds when it comes to leading their team in the running game. They're just 2 guys who they're consistently, like Justin Herbert and like Dak Prescott that I mentioned earlier, they're just 2 guys who are consistently putting their teams in consistent spots to win the game. Kyler Murray has only fumbled twice and he's only thrown an interception 4 times. However, he has not lost a fumble all season. He has not thrown an interception in 2 weeks, and that comes against 2 incredible defenses with the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. They're both just playing incredible. And when you talk about Lamar Jackson, after he just came back from a 19-point deficit on Monday Night Football against the Indianapolis Colts. And that, he came back in that deficit in about a quarter and a half. Not even a half, maybe quarter in 5 minutes. So, those two guys, like I said, they're firmly in the MVP race for me. Now, some guys who kind of are riding the tails of some incredible defenses and just incredible teams at the moment. You have a few guys like Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, and Josh Allen. Now, if I have to give you a pick right now between who I think is the MVP, I would say it's Tom Brady. Because, you're talking about a guy at 44 years old, leading the league in passing. You're talking about a guy who has only thrown 2 interceptions all season, a guy who is second in touchdown passes. He leads the league at the quarterback spot in terms of first downs thrown for. I'm pretty sure he's in the top 3 in terms of quarterback rating, passer rating. He doesn't get sacked a lot, which for someone like Tom Brady who doesn't fit the current mold of a mobile quarterback, that is really important. It's just Tom Brady. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Statistically, you could say that. The completion percentage might not be there. The yards per attempt might not be as high as some guys, but you're talking about a guy who is going to put points up on the board for his team. He's got 2 fourth quarter comebacks already this season. He's 4-1. He's got the most passing yards in the league. Tom Brady just has to be a guy in the MVP race every single season. And in my opinion, he's the guy I would peg as the MVP right now. A guy who, this is kind of a touchy subject at the moment because of a video that, not because of a video I made yesterday, but because of the subject of a video I made yesterday, Derek Carr. If Derek Carr ends up taking this Las Vegas Raiders team after the scandal that happened over the past week or so with John Gruden and his email scandal, if Derek Carr is able to take this Vegas Raiders team to a playoff berth and he is able to consistently, week in and week out, prove that he is an elite quarterback, then he's in the MVP race. Statistically, he's been one of the best quarterbacks over the past couple of years under John Gruden, and if he continues that and continues to improve and get this Vegas Raiders team out of the slump they're in right now after losing 2 straight games, he has a chance to be in the MVP race, and he has a chance to take it home if he really leads this Raiders team to the promised land. All in all, I think this MVP race is going to shape up to be possibly the best one we've had in a long time, and maybe the best one ever. We have a lot of guys who we wouldn't really have been considering underdogs for the MVP. Guys like Patrick Mahomes, guys like, Matthew Stafford, guys like Aaron Rodgers. At this point, they're almost underdogs to guys like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Tom Brady or Dak Prescott even, or Matthew Stafford. You've got some big names who are on the outside looking in of this MVP race, and if they're able to not really right the ship, but if they're able to improve on the incredible play that they've already had this early in the season, then we're going to have the best MVP race between quarterbacks that we've ever had. With all that being said, that's going to be the video for me. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't, make sure you leave a dislike. Any feedback from you at this point is much appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.